Welcome, dear listener, and thank you for choosing to spend this quiet time with us. We are so glad you're here. Tonight, we invite you into the gentle embrace of Porcelain Roots and Dew-Kissed Loam, a soothing story crafted to help you unwind and drift peacefully towards rest. If you find comfort in our narratives, we warmly invite you to like this recording and subscribe to our channel for more calming journeys. Before we enter the hidden dew garden, we will begin with a short breathing guidance to help settle your mind and body. Should you wish to step directly into the story, please feel free to use the chapter timestamps found in the description below. Please find a position that feels deeply comfortable for you now. Allow your body to feel heavy and supported, perhaps sinking a little deeper into the softness beneath you. Adjust your covers, letting them rest gently upon you like a layer of fallen leaves. This space, this moment, is yours, a quiet haven to release the day and welcome serenity. Let the thought of the dew garden begin to soothe you, imagining the cool, moist air, the scent of damp earth, and the quiet magic of plants nourished by morning dew, their delicate porcelain roots glowing faintly in the soft light. Let us take a calming breath together. Inhale slowly through your nose, feeling the air gently fill your lungs, cool and clean like the morning air in the garden, and exhale softly through your mouth, releasing it with a quiet sigh, letting go of the day. Feel the tension leaving your shoulders, your jaw, your brow with each outward breath, melting away like frost in the morning sun. Imagine as you breathe in, you are drawing in the deep peace of the hidden garden, and as you breathe out, you are releasing any lingering worries, letting them dissolve into the quiet air. Picture the smooth white porcelain roots radiating a gentle, steady calm. If thoughts arise, simply notice them without judgment, like watching leaves float gently down onto soft moss. Gently guide your attention back to the sensation of your breath, feeling its easy rhythm, or simply rest in the sound of my voice. There is nothing else required of you now but to rest and allow the story to unfold. Feel the quiet rhythm of the garden beginning to settle within you, a steady, peaceful pulse. Allow yourself to feel grounded, connected to the stillness, ready to receive the restorative calm of the dew garden now. Let our journey begin, stepping through the hidden gate into a world of quiet wonder and profound peace. Chapter 1, The Hidden Gate. The weariness Lorien carried was not merely of the body, though limbs felt heavy and steps dragged upon the path. It was a deeper fatigue, settled somewhere behind the eyes, a quiet ache in the spirit that longed for stillness, for a place where the relentless hum of the world faded into genuine quiet. Days bled into one another, marked only by the changing light and the endless ribbon of the road unwinding ahead, offering little respite for a mind seeking sanctuary. Each footstep felt like an echo of the one before, a monotonous rhythm on dusty ground. The path itself was unremarkable, winding through low, scrubby hills under a pale, washed-out sky. The air tasted of dust and dry grasses, carrying the faint, distant sounds of mundane life sounds Lorien sought to leave behind. There was a subtle tension in the air here, the feeling of transition, perhaps, but not yet arrival. The sun, though not harsh, offered little comfort, merely illuminating the path forward without promise. Lorien walked with head slightly bowed, gaze fixed a few paces ahead, conserving energy, conserving hope. It was a shift in texture against the periphery of vision that made Lorien pause. Not abrupt, but a deepening of green, a solidity beside the path where before there had been only sparse bushes. Looking up, Lorien saw it, an old stone wall, remarkably tall and almost swallowed by thick, clinging vines, whose leaves were a deep, verdant shade. The stones were weathered smooth by time and rain, fitted together with an ancient, patient skill. Patches of soft, vibrant moss clung to the shaded crevices, adding strokes of brilliant green against the cool gray stone. Curiosity, gentle and unhurried, stirred within Lorien. Moving closer, a fragrance reached out, delicate yet pervasive. It was the scent of night-blooming jasmine, impossibly sweet and calming, mingled with the rich, cool aroma of damp earth, a promise of water and life hidden away. It was a scent that spoke of enclosed spaces, of secrets held gently, of peace. Lorien breathed it in deeply, feeling a tight band around the chest, loosened ever so slightly, a small release, long overdue. Following the wall, tracing the line where stone met vine, Lorien's fingers brushed against wood. There, almost perfectly camouflaged by the overhanging leaves, was a small gate. It was made of simple weathered planks, gray and smooth to the touch, with a plain iron latch unlocked. It felt unassuming, almost shy, yet undeniably inviting. It wasn't grand or imposing, simply present, a quiet offering of passage. Lorien hesitated only a moment, then lifted the latch. The sound, a soft click in the stillness. Stepping through the gateway was like stepping into another world entirely. The air immediately grew cooler, carrying a palpable moisture that soothed the skin. The dusty scent of the outside world vanished, replaced entirely by the rich perfume of jasmine and damp, fertile soil. And the sounds changed. The vague hum of the distance was gone, replaced by the gentle, persistent drip, drip, drip of water from an unseen source, a sound profoundly calming and centering. The gate swung softly shut behind Lorien, muffling the world left behind. Beneath Lorien's worn boots, the ground was no longer dusty earth, but soft, yielding moss, cool and damp to the touch, even through the soles. It carpeted a narrow path that wound gently away into dappled shade, beckoning inward. Tall, unfamiliar plants with broad, deep green leaves grew in abundance, creating a sense of lush privacy. Filtered sunlight trickled through an unseen canopy high above, painting shifting patterns of light and soft shadow on the mossy floor. Lorien stood just inside the gate, unmoving for a long moment, simply allowing the profound shift in atmosphere to settle. A breath, drawn slowly and deeply, seemed to reach further than any breath taken in days. With the exhale came a tangible release, a softening in the shoulders, a slight unclenching of the jaw. It was as if the garden itself had offered a gentle sigh of welcome, inviting Lorien to let go. The quiet here was profound, not an empty silence, but one filled with the subtle life of the garden, the dripping water, the imagined rustle of leaves stirred by the faintest breeze, the deep thrum of growing things, the coolness, the scent of earth and bloom, the soft ground underfoot, it all combined into a balm for Lorien's weary spirit, a fragile tendril of hope unfurled within. Perhaps, finally, this was a place to truly rest. Chapter 2. The Porcelain Gardener. Following the winding moss path deeper into the garden's embrace, Lorien moved slowly, absorbing the tranquility. The air remained cool, still, holding its perfume of damp earth and sweet blossoms. The dappled sunlight shifted lazily, illuminating patches of extraordinary foliage, leaves in shades of green Lorien had never seen before, some edged with silver, others velvety, soft to the imagined touch. The gentle dripping sound seemed closer now, a constant, soothing presence. Rounding a bend, shaded by broad, fern-like leaves, Lorien saw a figure kneeling beside a bed of dark, rich soil. It was a person of indeterminate age, clad in simple, loose-fitting clothes, the color of pale linen, moving with a slowness that seemed perfectly attuned to the garden's pace. Their hands, gentle and deliberate, were tending to the base of some unusual plants, using not a trowel, but what looked like a soft brush. The figure looked up as Lorien approached, their expression entirely serene, neither surprised nor alarmed by the presence of a stranger. Their eyes held a deep, quiet calm, like still water. A gentle smile touched their lips. "Welcome." The voice was soft, low, and seemed to merge with the garden's quiet sounds. "You found a gate?" "Not many do." There was no question in the statement, just a calm observation. Lorien, feeling strangely unintrusive, simply nodded, finding words unnecessary in this place. The caretaker gestured toward the plants they were tending. "These are the Lumina Flora," they explained, their voice a gentle murmur. "They are particular." Lorien drew closer, peering down. The plants themselves had simple blade-like green leaves, but it was their roots, partially exposed at the surface of the dark loam, that were astonishing. They were smooth, white, and possessed a texture that looked exactly like unglazed porcelain, and they seemed to emit the faintest, softest internal light, a barely there luminescence. "They drink only the dew." The caretaker, who Lorien would come to know as Kael, continued softly. Kael picked up the brush again. Lorien saw now it was fashioned from the softest, palest lark feathers, bound neatly to a smooth wooden handle. With exquisite care, Kael began to gently sweep away a few fallen leaves and stray particles of soil from around the base of one plant, revealing more of the luminous white roots. The sound was a delicate swish-swish, a whisper against the damp earth. The scent rising from the disturbed soil was clean and vital, mixing with the faint, almost imperceptible fragrance emanating from the Lumina Flora themselves, something pure and cool, like fresh water over smooth stones. Lorien watched Kael's hands, mesmerized by the slow, mindful movements. Each sweep of the brush was precise, careful not to disturb the delicate roots, yet effective in clearing the space around them. It was less like gardening, more like a quiet, devotional act. Kael paused, looking towards Lorien with that same peaceful gaze. They require very little, just clean earth, gentle attention, and the morning's moisture. There was a wisdom in Kael's simplicity, a deep understanding that resonated with Lorien's own longing for uncomplicated peace. Standing there, breathing the cool, fragrant air, listening to the soft sounds, Lorien felt another layer of tension dissolve, unnoticed until it was gone. Kael gestured for Lorien to come closer still, pointing with a gentle finger toward the base of a plant where the porcelain roots met the dark soil. "See how they seem to brighten just a little when the earth is clear around them? They like the air, the coolness, before the dew arrives." Lorien leaned in, observing the subtle shift, the way the faint inner light seemed to pulse almost imperceptibly. It was a quiet magic, gentle and unassuming, woven into the fabric of this hidden place. A sense of profound calm settled over Lorien. deeper than any experienced before. It wasn't just the quiet or the beauty, but the feeling of being in a place where life unfolded at its own natural, unhurried pace, where attention was given gently and without demand. Kael returned to the feather brush, the soft swish-swish resuming its meditative rhythm, and Lorien simply stood, breathing, watching, and feeling, for the first time in a long while, utterly present. Chapter 3. Learning the dew cycle. Days began to take on a gentle, predictable rhythm within the walls of the dew garden. Lorien, guided by Kael's quiet example rather than explicit instruction, started to assist with the garden's simple routines. The most vital of these was the collection of the morning dew, the sole nourishment for the remarkable Lumina Flora. This ritual began in the cool pre-dawn darkness, a time of profound stillness. Kael showed Lorien the collection bowls, wide, shallow vessels crafted from smooth, cool ceramic in pale, earthy tones. They were beautiful in their simplicity, perfectly shaped for gathering the night's condensation. Together, in the deep quiet just before sunrise, they would carry the bowls out to specific open spots within the garden, places where the leaves overhead thinned, allowing the night air to settle and condense most freely. Placing the bowls felt like setting out an offering. Returning to the small, simple shelter where Kael resided within the garden walls, they would wait. Sometimes Kael would gently brew a warming infusion of dried herbs, the steam rising in the cool air, carrying scents of mint and chamomile. They would sit in comfortable silence, listening to the garden slowly awakening around them, the first tentative chirps of unseen birds, the gradual lightening of the sky from inky black to soft gray. As the first rays of dawn began to pierce the upper canopy, they would return to the bowls. Lorien found a quiet joy in discovering them transformed, no longer empty, but holding a shimmering layer of pure, clear dew. Carefully, so as not to spill a single precious drop, they would lift the bowls. Lorien focused on the sensation, the surprising coolness of the ceramic against the palms, the gentle weight of the collected water, the smooth texture of the glazed clay. It was a grounding, centering feeling. The next step was the distribution. Carrying the bowls with mindful steps along the mossy paths, they would arrive at the beds of Lumina Flora. Kael demonstrated how to gently tip the bowls, allowing the dew to trickle slowly onto the base of the plants directly over the exposed porcelain roots. There was a soft plink-plink sound as the droplets landed on the roots and soaked into the dark, receptive loam. Lorien watched, fascinated, as the smooth white roots seemed to respond almost instantly to the moisture. Their faint luminescence would brighten subtly, a soft, internal pulse of light that spoke of nourishment received. It was like watching the plants drink in the essence of the morning, pure and simple. Lorien took a turn, carefully tipping a bowl, concentrating on pouring slowly, gently, feeling a connection to the quiet life held within the plant. This daily ritual became a form of moving meditation for Lorien. The repetitive, gentle actions carrying the cool bowls, pouring the clear water, observing the plant's subtle response required focus, but invited calm. The mind, previously restless, settled into the task, finding peace in the simple, purposeful movements. The worries that had seemed so large outside the garden walls felt distant and muted here. The sensory details of the dew cycle became deeply ingrained. The cool dampness of the pre-dawn air, the smooth feel of the ceramic, the visual beauty of dew clinging like tiny jewels to leaves and petals, the soft sound of trickling water, the clean scent of the Lumina Flora seeming to intensify slightly as they drank. Each element contributed to a growing sense of tranquility and connection to the garden's gentle pulse. Lorien began to understand that the garden wasn't just a place Kael tended, it was a place that tended back. Its rhythms, its quiet demands for gentle attention, its offering of simple beauty, all worked together to soothe and restore. In learning the cycle of the dew, Lorien was learning a cycle of inner peace, finding nourishment in the stillness and the quiet ritual, much like the porcelain roots drank the morning light held in water. Chapter 4. Shared Silence and Warm Tea. The passage of time in the dew garden felt different, softer, less defined. Days flowed one into the next, marked by the gentle rhythms of dew collection, quiet tending of the Lumina Flora, and periods of simple, peaceful observation. Lorien fell easily into this unhurried pace, finding a deep comfort in its predictability and gentleness. The constant, low-level hum of anxiety that had been a companion for so long began to fade, replaced by a quiet sense of presence. Cha-cha. Often in the soft light of the afternoon, when the main tasks were done, Lorien and Kael would sit together on a particular bench. It was made of a single long slab of smooth, pale stone, worn comfortable by time and use, situated beneath the dappled shade of a broadleaf tree. The stone held the warmth of the afternoon sun, a gentle heat that seeped into weary muscles, encouraging relaxation. From this vantage point, they could look out over a quiet section of the garden, watching the subtle play of light and shadow on the leaves. Conversation between them was rare and unforced. Kael was not one for idle chatter, and Lorien found the shared silence deeply restful. There was no pressure to speak, no awkwardness in the quiet. Instead, there was a comfortable companionship, an unspoken understanding that flowed between them. Sometimes, Kael would simply lift a hand and point, drawing Lorien's attention to a small wonder, a dewdrop perfectly balanced on a leaf edge, catching the light like a tiny prism, or the slow, deliberate unfurling of a new bud on a nearby vine. More often than not, these quiet afternoons were accompanied by tea. Kael would brew infusions from herbs gathered within the garden walls, perhaps calming chamomile, refreshing mint, or a gentle blend Lorien couldn't name but found deeply soothing. The tea was served in simple ceramic mugs, similar to the dew bowls but smaller, handleless, fitting comfortably in cupped hands. Lorien would hold the mug, feeling the welcome warmth spread through fingers and palms, a comforting anchor in the cool garden air. The ritual of sipping the tea was slow and mindful. Lorien focused on the warmth, the fragrant steam rising to meet the nose, the gentle flavor unfolding on the tongue. Each sip felt like imbibing the garden's peace. The warmth seemed to travel inwards, loosening knots of tension, easing the weary spirit. Looking across at Kael, who sipped with quiet contentment, Lorien felt a sense of belonging, of being accepted exactly as they were, without expectation. The sounds around them were soft and natural, the distant, gentle cooing of unseen doves, the occasional soft rustle of leaves stirred by a passing breeze, the hum of a contented bee exploring a nearby blossom. These sounds wove together into a peaceful tapestry, a backdrop that enhanced the tranquility rather than disturbing it. Lorien's breathing naturally deepened and slowed, syncing with the garden's calm rhythm. There was a profound simplicity in these shared moments. No grand events, no dramatic revelations, just the quiet appreciation of warmth, stillness, and gentle presence. Lorien realized how starved they had been for such uncomplicated peace. The bench became a place of quiet integration, where the gentle work of the morning settled and the restorative power of the garden could be fully absorbed. Lorien learned that connection didn't always require words. The shared glance, the quiet nod of appreciation for the tea, the mutual observation of a drifting butterfly, these small gestures built a sense of quiet camaraderie that felt more nourishing than hours of conversation might have. On the sun-warmed bench, surrounded by the garden's embrace, Lorien felt the scattered pieces of a weary self begin to gently knit back together, warmed by shared silence and soothing tea. Chapter 5. Finding Roots. Weeks turned into an unspecified passage of gentle time, measured not by calendars, but by the cycles of dew and the slow growth of the Lumina Flora. Lorien no longer felt like a visitor, but rather a quiet participant in the garden's life. The weariness that had clung so persistently had lifted, not suddenly, but gradually, like mist burning off in the morning sun. In its place was a feeling of settledness, a quiet strength Lorien hadn't known they possessed. One afternoon, while gently brushing fallen leaves away from the base of a particularly luminous cluster of porcelain roots, Lorien paused. Kneeling on the cool moss, feeling the damp earth beneath, Lorien truly looked at the plants. They seemed so delicate, sustained only by dew and light, yet they possessed an undeniable resilience. Their smooth white roots held a quiet integrity, firmly anchored in the dark loam, glowing with a soft, steady light. In that moment, Lorien felt a profound connection to these unique plants. They too had felt fragile, sustained by very little, adrift. Yet here, in the nurturing quiet of the garden, tended with gentle consistency, Lorien had found a source of inner nourishment. Much like the roots drank the dew, a sense of being grounded spread through Lorien, a feeling of having found roots in this place of peace, even if the stay was temporary. Kael approached quietly, noticing Lorien's stillness. They stood side by side for a moment, observing the Lumina Flora together. Kael didn't speak, simply offered a small, understanding smile, acknowledging the connection Lorien was feeling, the shared appreciation for the plants, for the garden's subtle magic, flowed between them without words. Lorien realized the peace found here wasn't solely dependent on the physical place, beautiful and calming as it was. It stemmed from the practice, the mindful attention, the gentle rhythm, the connection to simple natural cycles. The garden had taught Lorien how to cultivate inner quiet, how to find nourishment in stillness, how to tend to the self with the same gentle care Kael showed the Lumina Flora. Later, sitting on the warm stone bench with mugs of tea, Lorien felt a quiet readiness stirring, not a restlessness to leave, but an acceptance that the time for deep rest was drawing to a close, replaced by a restored sense of self. The thought of stepping back outside the garden walls no longer felt daunting. The peace felt solid now, integrated, something Lorien could carry within. Lorien looked at Kael, wanting to express the depth of gratitude felt, but words seemed inadequate, potentially disruptive to the profound peace they shared. Instead, Lorien simply met Kael's serene gaze and offered a gentle nod, a silent communication of thanks that Kael received with a soft inclination of the head, conveying understanding and quiet blessing. As dusk began to settle, painting the garden in soft hues of lavender and gray, the scent of night-blooming jasmine grew stronger, a final fragrant gift. Lorien took one last slow walk along the mossy path toward the gate, breathing in the cool, damp air, committing the feel of the soft ground and the sound of dripping water to memory, not as fleeting sensations, but as anchors to the peace found here. Standing at the threshold, Lorien turned back for a final look. Kael stood near the Lumina Flora, a calm silhouette in the fading light, radiating the garden's enduring tranquility. Lorien carried that image and the feeling of profound restoration as they gently opened the wooden gate and stepped back into the world, no longer weary, but grounded, carrying the quiet strength and gentle glow of the dew garden within their own roots. The journey ahead felt different now, approached not with trepidation, but with quiet confidence and an inner wellspring of peace.